Hi YouTube, Art here again with another Call of Duty audio video, and in today's video I'm looking to dethrone the Truth Ear Zeros as the #1 budget IEM pick for competitive Call of Duty. After reviewing the Kiwi Ears Orchestra Lites, big shout out to Fresh Reviews for turning me on to those, I'll link his channel below, he reviews a ton of IEMs. I wanted to find something that came close in terms of detail and clarity, which is something the Orchestra Lites do really well in the budget realm. So I was trying to find something under the $100 mark. And I went online and I did the noob thing and I searched by amount of drivers, and man, I think I found something that checks all of the boxes. This IEM is the KZZAR or ZAR. This is advertised as a 7 balanced armature and 1 dynamic driver headset. That means each earbud has 7 balanced armature drivers and 1 dynamic driver. Here's old bearded me to tell you about what those are. Dynamic drivers are what you think of when you think of a speaker. It's a diaphragm with a magnet in the base that pushes the membrane back and forth and creates sound. Another very common type of driver featured in IEMs are BA or balanced armature. Balanced armature drivers are typically found in hearing aids, and they're a small metal box with a mechanism inside that moves back and forth to create the sound. Because of their size, they are able to reproduce sounds very quickly and sharply, although they can lead to like a tinny sound in the overall tuning of the IEM. The first thing I did when I cracked open the ZARs is I took one Orchestra Lite off my left side and I put a ZAR on, put the same tips on, and put one IEM in each ear. So I had the Orchestra Lite in the right and the ZAR in the left, and man, I was kind of shocked by how close they sounded. Now, I have a bunch of test IEMs in the backlog that I haven't made videos on yet because I haven't really been excited about them. The KZ-ZAR is the first set of IEMs that I've tested after getting the Orchestra Lites that I haven't wanted to run immediately back to the Orchestra Lites, and that should say something. The clarity on the KZ-ZARs is fantastic. If I were to analogize this, I would say the Orchestra Lites are 4K, the KZ-ZARs are 1440, and the Truth Ear Zeros are 1080p. We'll get more into the clarity talks about the ZARs later, but let's just talk about the tuning overall. I'll show some info here on screen from KZ's website. You can see here the tuning. This is what they call in the audiophile realm a deep V tuning. So you can see it's really spiked up high on the low end, it takes a dip in the mids, and then the high end also has a peak. So on the left side, again, that is your bass. That are the rumbles, the booms, the deep explosions, the rumble of my voice. The middle end is kind of that nasally tone, and then the high end is going to be the crunching, the crackling of gunshots. Now, deep V tuning is something if you buy headsets from a big box store or your typical gamer headsets, a lot of these have the deep V tuning, and it's kind of like the poppy tuning for headsets. So if you were to get these, I think most people would like these. If you're a bass head, you will love these. So that brings us to the construction. According to KZ's website, the dynamic driver, or the speaker unit inside of each IEM, is responsible for the low end and the bass. The 6 balanced armature drivers then are diverted to the mids, and there is 1 balanced armature driver used for the high end. This really speaks to the tuning of the IEM. It is a very bassy IEM, and it's kind of darker tuned. What that means is the high end is kind of tamed down a little bit, so it doesn't have the sparkle that some audiophile IEMs do. Now, while this isn't great for some types of music, it is actually kind of great for long gaming sessions, because if you're shooting a gun, if there's a bunch of streaks, that harshness, that brightness over time will really fatigue your ears. With it so toned down in this IEM tuning, I have found that that tuning led to me being able to wear them longer with less ear fatigue. And that leads me into my one issue with them. Compared to the Orchestra Lites, the construction on these is not great. They're 2 kind of flimsy pieces of plastic glued together. They're rather hollow feeling, and the place where I plug in my cables feels really, really brittle. I'm scared to drop these because I do think they would probably crack open or something would come loose, so I've kind of babied them. But with the sound they produce compared to the $250 Orchestra Lites, I think that's one caveat that we'll have to take. Over time, the only thing that kind of made me uncomfortable is the seam of the 2 pieces of plastic. So it has the bowl, which fits inside of your ear, and then the faceplate is kind of glued on top. So that seam that's formed around there that goes in your ear did kind of itch after a while, but it's nothing that a little sandpaper and clear nail polish couldn't fix. Another great thing about the KZ-ZARs is they do have a optional mic inline cable for an extra $1. And that could be great for our PS5/Xbox friends that need an inline mic. Is it going to sound great? No. Is it there? Yes. At $80, the detailed reproduction and the clarity, like I said, come really, really close to the Orchestra Lites. The only difference is, because these use one dynamic driver per ear, these have way more bass presence. Now, when I talk about bass presence, that's the sensation of bass kind of hitting the side of your head, like if you're at a concert. The Orchestra Lites really lack that. They have an analytical tuning, so you can hear everything in the bass, but you don't feel it. I think this tuning will be much familiar to people, this kind of bass rumble, and if you're a bass head and you listen to a lot of electronic music, you'll probably really like the KZ Czars. Another great thing about the Czars is they are about as loud as the Orchestra Lites. A lot of people complained about the Zeros being too quiet. I didn't really think about it because I use all of my headphones through an amplifier, but these are loud on everything. I've plugged them into my iPhone through a lightning adapter and they sound great and loud. That's not to say that these dethrone the Orchestra Lites. If I were to make an analogy for them, the KZ Czars are the rebellious teenager to the Orchestra Lites. They're kind of shouty and less defined and refined. They are really clear and they're essentially the same thing, but the Orchestra Lite just does everything better, with the exception of bass presence. So if you like having bass kind of rattle you, then I would definitely try out the KZ Czars. Another key difference between the Orchestra Lites and these IEMs, the Czars, are vented, meaning there are tiny little vent holes in there to allow the dynamic drivers to compress. That also means if you're really sensitive to ear pressure, I would choose the KZ Czars over the Orchestra Lites just for comfort. Speaking of comfort, I have found a new IEM tip that I really like. I'll link them down below. They have so many different combo names. I think they're from Hi-Fi Go, but the important part is the outside has a thin layer of silicone while the inside has foam in it, so you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get the grippiness of that silicone to stay in your ear, but the form-fittingness of foam. Orchestra Lites are still going to be my main IEM. They are way more sturdy, the construction is way better, the layout of all of the balanced armature drivers makes a lot more sense, and they're made from a reputable company, priced at $250. The quality is pretty clear. But the KZ Czars come so uncomfortably close, I'm kind of surprised. If the Orchestra Lites are out of your budget, the KZ Czars absolutely smash the Zeros in terms of detail. When I'm in a gunfight, I can hear so many little details and none of them step on each other, and I'm sure that's due to all of the different drivers included in these IEMs. Going forward, the KZ Czar is going to be my budget recommendation at $80. The Truth Ear Zero is still great at $50, but the jump in clarity and detail when going to the Czar is really out of this world. If you wanted to test the KZ Czars out for yourself, you are in luck because I will be giving away a set of these on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/art_is_war. Like the video, subscribe, and click the bell so you know when I upload another one. And let me know in the comments down below if you have any other sets of IEMs you want to see tested in Warzone. Go ahead and check out my other videos on the channel about audio tuning. And let me know in the comments down below if you buy a set and if you like them. And until the next video, I'll see y'all later. Peace.